All right, welcome to In Depth with Missy and Nikki.
Where your hosts, us, will cover all topics 3D in depth.
In 3D. In depth. In depth.
So today we are gathered here to talk about, actually go in depth into a blog post that recently went up on the Looking Glass blog. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely check that out. We'll leave that link in the description below. But the goal here, really, just to kind of go through what we're going to start doing, is we're going to write these posts. We're going to share a lot of information. And in doing that, I think we're going to use this opportunity to expand on some topics, maybe go into questions that people have had since we published it, or, sort of things that we can't really cover too much in text. That really takes a bit more conversation to go through. Do you have anything?
Yeah, maybe you're not a reading person. Maybe you like to listen to people talk about stuff. Maybe you like visual stuff. So I feel like also we're trying to account for that and be funny and in depth.
Well, cool. So I hope you like it. We're going to try keep this to an hour and or even less if we can get through some of these big topics. We're also going to do bite-sized 5-minute clips so that you can get through these. So without further ado, let's get started. So Missy, welcome, by the way. Missy's calling us from Austria today.
Hallo, wie geht's dir? So as he said, we just released a post called Capturing Real-World Holograms for Looking Glass Displays. And we think it's pretty important to just like dive in and talk about, like just how you can do that, like how you can take real-world capture yourself as a person that maybe owns a looking glass, maybe you don't, maybe you want one, maybe you won't want one, who knows? But you will know at the end of this podcast, this episode, how you can take RGBD images and captures and put them in a looking glass display, how to take NeRFs and Gaussian Splats and put them in the looking glass display, also what they even are. You're gonna have like an understanding there, and then we're also gonna leave you with our type of capture that's the closest to our heart, the light field photo capture technique that we've built at Looking Glass. So you want to dive in, Nikki, and get us started on RGBD capture?
Sure. So, So this is, first of all, bear with us. This is our first episode. So if we get a little clunky, we will get better. But aside from that, So very quickly, actually, even before we get into that, the blog post actually, I realized, talks a little bit about stereo photos, which I think is where a lot of, when people talk about 3D photography, that's sort of where they start. It's actually a very, very long-standing practice that a lot of 3D photographers, as they probably would like to be known, and you've probably seen this before in like museums probably, but the idea of stereo photos, and there's actually some stereo photo cameras that exist today still, is where it sort of tries to mimic how your eyes see. And the reason we see in 3D is because we have one set of a pair of eyes, and the stereo photo capture technique really aims to mimic that. So with stereo photos, you get two photos side by side, and in a lot of instances, these are called side by side SBS photos. And you have to use sort of the special viewer to view it. But you've probably seen it. It's sort of a lot of the theory behind the sort of red and blue glasses, or the 3D glasses you wear in cinemas, is really allowing you to see two sort of captures that happen simultaneously to sort of mimic the feeling of you being there in 3D. So that's sort of like one thing I want to get out of the way, because I think it sort of formulates a lot of the concepts of sort of 3D photography, 3D just scenes in. But yeah, so is there anything, Missy, that I've missed there that you'd like to supplement?
No, I think you captured it. Definitely, if you want to like dive in deeper, you should go to this beautiful blog post that Nikki put together about the history of stereo photography. And I guess the only
there's a
thing
lot more
add,
too.
there's a lot more, and the only thing I want to add is like stereo photography is like how we see. I feel like people always forget that like we already see in 3D. That's why we want to see in 3D so badly when we like look at our media. Like stereo photography is mimicking our eyes. So if you want to understand how we work, then you want to understand how stereo photography works.
Yeah. So then moving a little bit beyond that to present day, what a lot of people also don't know is, Apple Vision Pro was announced. When did it was it? It was like like kind of last year. So it's been around almost for a year now. And a lot of sort of the techniques behind the spatial videos and spatial captures and spatial photos is actually stereo photos. So using two cameras of your iPhone to capture a scene, see that in a Vision Pro, which also kind of, mimics the sort of two lenses that you see in real life. That's sort of how they're achieving the 3D effect currently on their devices. So this is also the same with a lot of VR headsets. So stereo, sort of that sort of two lenses, two views is the basis of a lot of the VR, the AR, the Vision Pro technology that we see today. So just a concept that I think, is a historical one that I think is super important as we try to understand new technology as well. Cool. So that's sort of the little bit about the background. And then the first thing we said we would cover today is, and I'm just going to skip through all of this and remind everyone that at the very bottom of this blog post, our newest member, Reed, actually put this together, and he was an incredible collaborator on this blog post as well, is a super simple table on sort of breaking down these many different techniques of ways that you can display and capture real world content for a looking glass. And just to note that this episode and this blog post really just covers static still photos, and we will cover sort of moving video capture in a later post, but we already thought, this is a pretty long topic, meaty topic, heavy topic, that we wanted to first focus on this one single static image episode. So without further ado, let's focus on the first column, RGBD. I will quickly pass down to Missy again because she did make a very incredible video about RGBD video, which we will also link. It's linked in this blog post as well. But Missy, why don't you tell us a little bit about RGBD? And yeah.
Wait, what video are you talking about?
The one here. Let's see if this will actually pull up properly.
Oh, okay. What are depth maps? Okay, yeah,
depth
totally.
maps and why you should care. Okay. So you remember this video you made, right?
Definitely check out this video that I definitely made. Yeah, I mean, RGBD is a really interesting topic of image because it is actually two images in one. It's the red, green, and blue image that we're all used to, that we're seeing us right now in color. It's RGB. And then the depth, the D, is the depth map equivalent, which is generally a version of the RGBD that's going from white to black. Sometimes it goes from black to white in like a grayscale, and sometimes it even goes and uses a color scale, but essentially is telling the computer what is the closest point to the camera, which is in most of our cases is a white point, is a white pixel, the whitest pixel, and then what's the furthest, and that's a black pixel. So you can see in this image of the Stanford bunny, this is a depth map of it, and you can see the ears are the closest to us, the camera view, and then the little bunny tail is the furthest, and then obviously the background is the furthest back. So that's kind of how depth images work. It's like, I think, if you don't think about it, like how would the software be able to understand where the pixel should be if we didn't feed it some information? And the depth map is just, I think, an elegant way to feed it the information of where the pixels should be mapped in Z space. So that's the logic behind the RGBD image. And then we can get into RGBD capture, which is also really cool. I mean, we're going to only like isolate to the still side of things, but your iPhone camera, your Android camera now can take images that have depth maps in them. And the reason you should know that they can is because now you're able to play with the depth of field in these portrait mode images that most people can take right now with their smartphones. Those you're only able to focus and on the subject or not because there's depth map and depth data information in the image that the portrait mode photo is taken. So already in software, like without you even knowing, or maybe you did and you're just here for the ride to hang out. Maybe you already knew, but for those of you who didn't, depth maps are already something that are a part of our world in like a pretty big way. So you can just capture a depth map, maybe you're not using it. And then also, for those of you that want to capture an RGBD image immediately and put it on your looking glass, you can go to blocks.class and convert any image that you've captured already or that you found online or wherever you got from your grandma. And you can use AI-assisted technology to get a depth map for that photo. So
yeah, so I mean, Missy makes a great point. She covered a lot, and there's a lot more resources online on our blog and on our YouTube that will kind of explain the importance of wow, that's actually really hard. Depth maps.
Depth map. Say it 5 times fast.
Yeah. But yeah, so as Missy says, iPhone. When iPhone 7 came out, and this is just a historical look again. I'm going back. I love the history. iPhone 7 came out. Portrait mode came out. I think it's iPhone 7. Is that what I said?
I think it was iPhone 7.
Yeah. Portrait mode came out, and the first thing people are photographers everywhere, they're like, bokeh mode, focus. You that's the kind of photos you want. You want the subject in the foreground, you want the background in the background, and you want that to be blurred out and unfocused, right? So I think the principle is that everyone actually understands what a depth map is already, because we understand what makes a good photo look good. And what's crazy is that what we didn't or don't think about too much, and people just don't think about every day, is that our cameras are actually doing some work. We're putting them to work to understand, okay, like when you take a photo of this polar seltzer can and you have your portrait mode on, is that your camera's recognizing that this can is in front of me, and so I'll get blurred out, and that's crazy, like old cameras can't do this. There's a lot that goes into this. So since the launch of iPhone 7, we've obviously progressed a lot since then. So while our phones have gotten a lot more sophisticated and can do stuff like that, what's crazy is that we don't even need those phones anymore, because in the past 2 years, we've had AI, artificial intelligence come out in a very meaningful way for the AI, artificial intelligence. A lot more of that sort of advance in a way that has really supported our technical roadmap, in that what Missy said before, blocks.glass, that's, here, I'll go to this site right now. Oops. Blocks.glass. That's our hologram sharing website. So when you upload a photo now onto our Blocks website, Oh my God, why is Elon Musk here? Okay, so I have no idea. This is just our Discover page. But as Missy said, you can actually upload when you log into blocks.glass, get an account, or if you already have one, you just add a photo, 3D image. And let me see. I'm like really scared to open my files. I haven't really. Okay, let's see.
We
This is a
can't see it
picture of
though.
me. Oh, you can't? Oh, amazing.
No.
Okay, so I just uploaded a photo of myself because that's always safe.
And just to make clear to everyone, Nikki just uploaded an RGB image of herself.
No. Oh yeah, RGB. Yes, not a D.
Yes. RGB image
Yeah.
of herself, and now just made it 3D with our software.
Yeah, and there's some things you like. I can pull up the depth a bit, and look. I mean, it's a. Maybe this wasn't the best photo.
This is like a sad.
But what's crazy is, let me see if I can actually download this asset. I can download the RGBD source image and
just the depth actually.
Yeah, but why does this happen? Okay, do I have to close this again? Can I hit replace?
What are you trying to do?
You'll see.
I feel like there's too many clicks happening. Whoa.
All right. So this is, I mean, that was fast, right? Blocks generated this really quickly. So that's what you could do with our online software right now. And okay, so I'm talking about blocks right now. That's cool and all. But and let me go back to, I feel like I have to, this is a lot of clicks happening type of situation here. But if we go back to this little GIF here is, what I think is now important to mention is you can not just do this on your phone. With the launch of Looking Glass Go and our recent shipment of the Go's and this mobile app, what you can do now is, without a computer, with just your iOS or Android phone, you can use our mobile app, upload any photo. It doesn't have to be a portrait mode photo because our software now will do the work for you. You upload the photo, you wait a hot second, you mess with the focus, the depth, and maybe that's something we can get into a little bit, the parameters of that photo and what that really means, and have that sent to your Looking Glass Go automatically without interfering with a computer or, connecting all these crazy cables. You can really, there's Biggie, my cat. And would you want like lots of 3D photos of your beloved cat just sitting on your shelf? I think the answer is yes.
I hope the answer is yes. Just a monster.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's the gist of RGBD. I think I covered most of what I wanted to cover, but maybe I think one of the few things that I think maybe interesting to kind of dive into a little bit, and I think maybe the best place to do it would be in this view, is maybe these settings. So Missy, can you maybe, as I play around with this, can you explain what's happening as I go through these settings?
Yeah, so the settings in the blocks interface for RGBD images is actually pretty simple. You can change the depth, which is formerly known as depthiness, which I still kind of love, and I'm going to say right now. But you can change how depthy the...
Ooh. Oh.
What happened?
It said your hologram is pretty flat.
And also, you'll get some critical feedback from our software telling you that you're too flat.
Thanks,
to
Brian.
Be on blocks, because on blocks we keep it in depth. Yeah, so you have the depth. What I'm looking for the word.
Slider. It's a slider.
You have the depth slider, and then you have the focus slider, which is allowing you to choose where in the Z plane you're focusing the image. Which,
and you can honestly, also tap it now, not just a slider.
Oh my God, crazy new feature.
Yeah.
But it's not as relevant for us as a block. It's actually
No,
more relevant for us as a 3D image on the Looking Glass display.
which
But no
reminds
matter.
me, I'm gonna switch my camera so that as Missy is talking, we're gonna see some photos. All right, Taylor Swift.
Are you a Swiftie?
Oh wait, here's us. Wait, how do I make us more focused?
Speaking of
Can't do
focus,
that on my
you
iPhone.
need to do the slider on your
I
iPhone.
know. Okay, wait, hold on. You can
I think just try to tap it.
zoom. I can't because it has this weird, like, when you focus your camera, it like overtakes your camera. You know
Weird.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, sorry, guys. This isn't the best. It's coming back. It's coming back. Missy's gonna talk through it. Hold on. Okay, my back.
Yeah, I'll just talk through this blurriness. Blurriness is in the slider. Oh, here we go. Look at that. Wait, back it up. I think it's there we go, right there. Perf. That's exactly it.
Some grapes. So these
Oh,
are all RGBD photos.
that's a nice grape.
Right? Isn't it so 3D?
Hmm.
You don't have to, just for everyone's sanity, you don't have to do this to your here's my friend Fukuko and a corn dog. To your photo to your looking glass to see 3D. I'm just trying to mimic what a real person would see when they're moving around a display, because you know what? I'm filming on a 2D camera right now. I'm not getting that stereo vision.
You don't have a 3D camera? That's crazy, man.
Crazy. This is Bakey. Okay.
Yeah, so then with the sliders, you technically can adjust the depth of these images, the focus, and then the zoom, which is like kind of the crop. So if you can like zoom in and out pretty much,
Yeah.
which is very simple, easy.
Super neat. All right. So with that, let's move to our next method of capture that we're here to discuss today, which are NeRFs and Gaussian splats, which is a topic I'm kind of scared of. Missy?
Why are you scared of NeRFs, Nikki?
I think they're a little intimidating, but I want to hear what you have to say about them.
Okay, I'm glad that you vocalized your intimidation, because I feel like that's brave. A lot of people wouldn't vocalize that they feel intimidated by a subject.
Thank you.
I also feel intimidated by NeRFs.
But not
No,
nerds.
it's not nerds, it's nerves. It's good for nothing.
NeRFs are not.
Okay, so NeRFs, if anyone wasn't living under a rock in 3D world like 2 years ago, NeRFs like really hit the scene with a splash.
With a splat.
With a splat. That's funny. Sorry. And it was really insane because people, these engineers had figured out a way to render 3D scenes using neural networks and AI to make the most realistic looking scenes I think anyone had ever seen rendered, and then also the most realistic lighting, because if anyone has really tried to do 3D scans or take real world captures, it's actually, the lighting can be really disappointing because in real life you're like, whoa, the reflection, the water, the transparency of the water with the light, you're like, this is crazy. And then you do a scan and you're like, this didn't come out at all. And NeRFs kind of solved that.
Although special shout out, I should mention, to photogrammetry, which came before NeRFs.
They did.
Yeah.
But NeRFs is, photogrammetry is, it was
like, yeah.
For NeRFs, and then, there's going to be another steps. There's going to be steps. And
well,
then
what's the quote? Photogrammetry walked so that NeRFs could fly.
So that NeRFs could splat. Sorry. Yeah. So, and then also we're saying NeRFs, but NeRF stands for neural radiance field. And yeah, and basically a NeRF is a capture of a 3D scene through taking photos or video and then turning them into an image sequence, and then giving it to this neural network that then processes these images and then reconstructs the 3D scene with all the crazy, like everything as it was in lighting, everything in real time. Or sorry, not real time, actually. I mean, you can real time move it around. But the downside of a NeRF is how expensive it is for the computer to run. Also, it takes a really long time. When we were first doing this, like 2 or 3 years ago, it took so long for us to we did a NeRF competition. I think it took like 2 days to process the NeRFs to then like evaluate them and see. I don't even know if we figured out who won because we were all
also 2 days and like out sitting by a computer.
Yeah, I think it was like the weekend. We were like, we gotta go.
Yeah.
But then Gaussian splats are the answer to the problem of the NeRF, because what Gaussian splats do is just break down this scene. So you take the same image sequence or the photo captures you took of the 3D scene. And then, Nikki's showing this pointillism painting, like as an example of it, you break down the image into these points, and it's called a Gaussian splat because the points are softened into like soft blobs, like kind of like the Gaussian blur that you see in Photoshop or when you're doing photo editing and stuff. And then that is used instead to recreate, these points are used to recreate this scene, and that's less expensive and faster for real-time rendering. So there you are. That was NeRFs. That was splats. And now Nikki's going to tell you how you can capture your own.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you. I that was actually very concise and specific, and
Amazing.
I think this is gonna blow up on YouTube.
I love to be concise and specific.
If you've been here, this whole time, leave a bubble emoji in the comments. I'm just gonna ask you to leave comments.
Why a bubble emoji?
I don't know, when you talk about blobs and splats and like soft blobs, they just remind me of bubbles. Anyhow, the things that we're kind of talking about right now, and we've obviously made a lot of reference in every section about artificial intelligence, is what's really relevant to Looking Glass is, we make a holographic display, which is a brand new medium for people to start making content in. One of the biggest challenges in doing this is how do we make content, or let people make content faster, easier, in more efficient ways. So, just as we said that now everyone has a 3D camera basically sitting in their pockets with an iPhone, same can be said of kind of the advancements of NeRFs taking Gaussian splats over the last 2 years. Is 2 years ago, like Missy said, we had to wait around for this, crazy processing to happen on a computer with a piece of software that can only run through a terminal. So really only like a very small handful of people could process stuff like this. Whereas today, with companies like Luma, with Polycam, and other companies I'm sure I'm not talking about, we're able to just use our phones, snap a video, and capture a scene, and let these companies and these apps do the processing for you. And at the end of the day, like that is what is kind of the point of this piece, is what are the different ways now? And we could not have written this blog post even a year ago, I think. But we can now, to talk about how it's so much easier to capture the real world. And there's so many different ways that you can do this, depending on how easy you want it to be, how quick you want it to be, the quality in which you want to capture it. And so, yeah, I think that is we're in a very exciting time where we have options, and it's nice to have options. It's very nice. So love options. So, if you've made it this far and you've gone to deep dive into our blog posts, I've made a quick video here on how I basically, I took a NeRF at Disney at the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And it was really quick. I then processed it and put it in my looking glass. Although the way to put it into looking glass is quite different now from this. There's like many other ways to do this, which we'll touch on very quickly. But I also want to actually pull up some things that, this is the wrong video. I'm going to replace it. We're going to pull up this video that is a sort of fun look into how NeRFs can also be a really fun activity for groups of people. So, Missy, do you want to explain what we're doing here?
Okay, so we're actually in Niigata, Japan with Guggenka, our beloved Guggenka, and we're scanning some of the food that we got at this really cool restaurant. And I think one of the best ways to scan with, especially for Luma, was to take I don't know if you can rewind.
I think it's just looping, but no, it's not. Okay, here. It is looping now.
Is essentially like if you're, around the object, like food or something, and still like take it and pass it around the table, which is actually fun and kind of like a bonding experience, especially if you don't like, you're not like best friends yet, and you should scan, together.
I mean, NeRFs, what do you call it? Is Masafumi-san, legend here, doesn't, we don't speak Japanese, which is obviously shameful of us. But we, Masafumi-san also, there's a language barrier between us, but you know what we can both do together? We can take
3D scan.
Exactly. So it's bonding. So another example I want to show here is, again, we took a lot of, Japan is an incredible place to take NeRFs. There's a lot of kind of fun stuff happening. And so here is a video of me taking a scan of Missy inside a phone booth. And
look at how still I am.
I know.
Don't look at Nikki's amazing skin. Yes, by the way, we did a contest, Sean, Nikki, and I, and we all did a scan of someone in the photo booth, and Nikki won. That's why we're seeing this, because it's so good.
Yeah.
But I just would like to put the attention on the model for a second. Stillness.
It is. I mean, that's what you actually need. It takes two to tango here, right? You need your subject to be quite still. You also need the person who's taking it to be very skilled. Just kidding. Anyone can actually do it.
Well, no. She's really skilled. She does this thing. Just kidding. It's just an accident. Like.
So this is moving on. This is sort of what you get when you take that final NeRF scan and you process it and then you put it in your looking glass. You get this incredible 3D recreation of this scene of Missy in a photo. Like, look how crazy that is. The light, the reflection, the pole in the middle where you can see to the left and to the right. When you can't see these things in a 2D photo. Like, oh my God, I'm freaking out just looking at it again.
That's pretty cool.
I took it. Yeah. Like, it's insane. So, and again, I think I also want to take this opportunity to highlight all of the people that came before us, in that, there are a ton of incredibly talented people in the community who are experts at both taking Splats and NeRFs and talking about them, and just want to highlight people from our community who were kind enough to send us the NeRFs that they've taken. And what's cool about this, and what I want to show, is how easy it was to for them to share a link to their Splats with us, and for us to put them in a looking glass. So there's a few ways you can do this now. We will get more in depth and show more tutorials. This is not the video that will get into this. That's Michael, Radiance Fields. But there's a few ways to do it. We can capture sort of light fields, which again is our last topic here of the day, of the scene. Or we now have an experimental portion of our website where we have a WebXR viewer. And actually, because most of these scenes are 3D scenes, you can export them in PLY format in both Luma and Polycam. And after you export them, you can then import it into our software. It's a web-based sort of model importer. You can put that PLY in and then see that in your looking glass as well. So again, this is a more advanced photography technique. And like I said, there are so many ways that you can really approach putting real world stuff into your looking glass. You can go as simple as snapping a photo of you and your BFF and, you know, loading that into your Go via the mobile app. That'll give you a very clean RGBD scan, or sorry, not scan, but photo. And it'll give you a 3D-ish image, but it won't be as, you know, crazy 3D, and like it won't capture the reflections, the lighting as you know, as a NeRF or a Splat can. So we're kind of talking about the advances here of what we can do.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. In depth. Yeah, we're going in depth.
You should also comment down below which one of these corny phrases is your favorite. And then depending on which it is, it's definitely going to be something we continue to do over and over again. And then next is
last and final,
light field photography.
Light field photography. To all the light fields I've loved before.
Yeah, I think this is your time.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, all right. I mean, light field photography is really, okay, so let's back up a little bit. Light field as a term is, what would I call it? Like a very, it's what our displays sometimes are called, light field displays, rather than holographic displays. You know, a lot of people have issues with the term hologram. So the actually technical term that's technically accurate for our displays is light field display. But who the heck knows what that is, really? Everyone just knows Princess Leia is a hologram. And, you know, we gotta stick with what people know. But regardless of that fact, light field really forms the basis of a lot of our, like the architecture of looking glass, a lot of the technology behind how, you know, we see the 3D effect on the display. And essentially light fields capture various points of a scene. I'm going to kind of quickly go through what images I have here. Maybe not too many, but to really kind of summarize how, let's go back to stereo. So stereo has two views, right? So two views, how your eye sees. Light field is sort of that same concept, but like more. So if a stereo camera like captures and sees two views of a scene, a light field is really just trying to capture more views of that scene, and then using those views to then formulate the 3D-ness of the scene in front of you. And in doing so, you know, the more views you have of a scene, technically the more information you have of a scene, and the more and better you're able to construct what that 3D scene looks like. So very early, sort of in the sort of days of photography at Looking Glass, one of the more sort of advanced ways that we had to take captures of people when we didn't have RGBD or NeRFs at our disposal is we had to take what was called light field photos. We had a light field photo booth at many events that came before. And what this was, and I don't have actually videos on hand, but we'll throw them up on the screen right now, is a camera on a rail, just a plain old camera on a light field camera rail that we would program to programmatically capture one photo every second as it moved along the rail with a subject sitting in front of them. So what's so funny is I realized that as we talk about NeRFs, talk about light field, is how important it is for your subject to stay absolutely still when these photos are taken. And of course, you can also move beyond that by, instead of having like a camera move through time. You could just have 45 or 100 cameras, but that's expensive and crazy to operate. And so that's sort of where, as we go through this technological like timeline, is thinking of ways to make capture techniques a little bit simpler. Carrying around a camera like this is just not that viable.
Also, I just want to quickly point out, like, cameras like that are also something that maybe you can recognize, like in the Matrix. Actually, they have like a camera rig that's sort of similar to this, or like a light field photorail, where that's how they get Neo and Trinity.
Oh yeah.
Doing the like where they do the quick pan around
Yeah.
them, like the 3D pan, and like it is a really masterful thing to do because it makes it feel digital and 3D and
right.
Love
Is it called like bullet time photography? I think.
I think it's a bullet time rail or something.
Yeah.
Will asterisk if that's not correct, and mark if it is correct.
We'll bleep it.
Yeah, with like cute sound design.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like these concepts are like building on each other. Also, the fact that a NeRF is kind of the same thing as a light field photo rail, except it's free. You're free to do it. Whereas photo rail needs to be in like a set.
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I think what we're not doing in like light field photography is we're not actually doing that crazy AI processing, right? The reason you can do like crazy like movements as you're taking NeRFs and Splats is we're letting the computer sort of fill in some of the gaps that that we're kind of speeding through or just kind of zooming through. And so I think that's where we're at. I think the light field photography part of this piece was really and this is a light field photo of me. That's when we had the light field photo booth in our office, and that we all took light field photos. You can see sort of how good the photo is, right? Because as you're panning left and right, you can see like behind and to the left and right of my hand, which again is it's just, I don't know. Like as I'm looking at this again, I'm like, wow, our technology is amazing.
It's amazing. And
it's
also
amazing. It's amazing.
There's me.
Oh, look at that. What's up? Oh, we look so cute. Look at that.
Hey, look at that.
Look at that. There's some great light field photos.
Light field photos, honestly amazing. And I feel like, back in the day, like Looking Glass obviously being cutting edge at the events, people love to get their 3D images taken. I think it's kind of like also like, I think we also have to acknowledge you don't have to be still if you're not living. So
True.
You real world capture of
a plant,
and it's nothing. You just is really easy. But I think people and animal. I don't even has someone.
I don't know. I think animals. Let's stick to the RGBDs.
Has someone's actually done like a dog or something?
Yeah, I think someone has. I think actually Michael from Radiance Field has, but I would have to double check on that. You need a very still dog, really.
Yeah, because you can't do a small dog. It's kind of shaped sometimes.
Yeah, good boy.
Yeah,
or a sleeping one.
Oh yeah, a sleeping dog would be good.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's just. Yeah, go ahead.
I think one more thing to say is like even if you're not doing real world capture with a light field photorail, actually a lot of our software captures the digital content through this process.
Yes, a topic for another day though. But keep this in mind.
But if you're using Unity or Unreal, like the same concept that Nikki just so kindly explained is how the digital content is being rendered for when you take it and you put it in your display. So all these concepts stack on each other. They all make sense. Everything is connected. We're all one in depth together. And yeah. So yeah, in conclusion, Light field photography, really amazing. It's another path. I think NeRF and Gaussian Splats and RGBD really opened up alternate pathways of high quality 3D capture content that everyone can enjoy, and that we can bring with us to events and be able to like very quickly show people how you can take something from a phone and put it on a looking glass display.
Totally agree. I am excited because I think that so much has happened in just 1 to 2 years. We've discovered all these new avenues of new ways to put content into a looking glass, and I think it's going towards what Missy really loves as a principle, which is what is it?
What is the principle? What did I say?
You didn't talk about it today, but you do like the Maya principle, which is
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You're gonna spring that on me.
Here, let's put this on the screen.
I was
Most
like,
advanced
Pleasure Principle by Janet Jackson. I love that song. No, okay, yeah, Maya principle, which is most advanced yet acceptable.
No, accessible.
Acceptable.
I thought it's accessible. Oh dear. Let's see who's right. Let's see who's right.
This is what being alive is. Yeah, it's acceptable.
Oh dang!
How are you gonna ask me about the principle I love?
We're keeping this in there.
But here's the thing: you're not wrong. Acceptable, I think, means like accessible in his own way. You know what I mean? Like I think because it's Raymond Loewy.
Yeah, I don't know
and
who he is.
Tell me in the comments if I'm saying his last name right. He's a French designer, prolific, literally did so much for the United States. Actually, like, long story short, but he came up with a principle called the Maya principle, which stands for most advanced yet acceptable, which Nikki thought was accessible because she's right. Like, technically, I think that's what he kind of was going for. People want new things, but not too new, I think is the meaning behind this principle. So I don't know if anyone will probably put an image here, but if anyone notices how subtle the iPhone upgrades are, they definitely use the Maya principle in a lot of their designs. It's just basically saying like we love novelty, but we need to feel like it's familiar to us for us to feel like we want to try it out. And so I think why Nikki brought up me liking this is because all of these things we're building steps, I think, slowly, and things are becoming more and more familiar to us, like how to navigate through 3D virtual and real world spaces and then capture them and share them on virtual spaces. And yeah. Is that why you brought it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. That was a very good explanation of Raymond Loewy, not Rob Lowe.
Wait, I also want to quickly say this anecdote about this dude who I love because he literally came as a child from Paris, I think. Oh. Like at least he came from France because he heard America was so beautiful. He came in like the early 1900s. He was like, I'm coming to this beautiful city. And then he got to New York and he was like, this is ugly. And then he became one of the most prolific industrial designers in America because he wanted to make America beautiful. And if that's not passion, I don't know what is.
Damn. That's all right. That's a great way to end this session is if you don't like something, go fix it.
Yeah.
Make it beautiful. Make it beautiful. That's the lesson you should take away from today. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. We hope that this was fun, educational, or at least entertaining at the very least. If you want to see more of this, comment below, like it, subscribe to us, and let us know what more you want to what more you want to hear more of, and how we can, improve our streams going forward. But yeah, thank you for coming to In Depth with Missy and Nikki. In Depth.
In Depth with Missy and Nikki. In Depth with Nikki and Missy. On this episode, you learned how to capture RGBDs, what RGBDs are. You learned about blocks like glass. You learned about Gaussian, Splats, and NeRFs. And you will now know to go into the description box to go check out some examples and some tutorial content on all of these things. And you also got a little history lesson on light field photography and why that's really important for us as an org. And yeah, just do what Nikki said.
Do what I say, not what I do.
Do what Nikki said. Yeah, not what she does.
Okay, I'm going to end this here. Bye.